Hello there everyone and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. We are here at the Kerbal Space Center and it's been a long evening. So, first things first. I bought our second tech and it turned out it has to be the probe core. I just thought to myself, you know, I wonder if this might solve the problem I've been having. You know, 0.3, I think I can afford it. Can I afford it? Yeah, I think I could. Okay, sorry, I digress. I've been having a large problem. And we're getting ready to finally fly the official small payload into orbit around Kerbal mission, which has one critical flaw. It pays $15,000. And the cheapest ship I've been able to come up with to get the damn payload into orbit, it costs $34,000 to build. Plus an additional $600 because I've realized this might just stop the problem I've been having from happening. I'm hopeful, very hopeful that it might do the trick. I guess we'll see. Okay, so that being said, there's other problems that we have to face with this thing. Namely, we need to recover as much of this ship as possible is the short of it. Which is why we've got parachutes on the booster stage and parachutes on the upper stage, the orbital burn stage. And I've been working for a while to come up with a mission profile that will actually allow me to recover these without mods that assist with the quirks of Kerbal Space Program, namely the fact that inactive ships get deleted rather than recovered, even if they have sufficient parachutes to survive the landing. So anyways, I'm quick saving here at launch because this is gone. There's some serious Kraken issues with this ship. As far as I can tell, there's nothing wrong with it. Most of the issues have been with the landing part of this, which is why I will quick save in orbit. I know we've talked about not using quick saves in this. And you know what I've realized? I just don't have the time to do this super hardcore. So a bit of quick saving. I'm going to be judicious in my use of quick saves. But at some point, you know, my life would have been a lot easier if I had quick saved 15 minutes ago when I recorded this for the first time and then my ship got eaten by the Kraken. Anyways, the Kraken in this particular case is while landing this section of the ship, it starts spinning like a bloody top and rips itself to shreds. Which I'm pretty sure is just a bug, probably with the fact that we have stabilizer fins on here or something. Anyways, so the mission profile is as follows. First, we get this ship up to 10,000 as vertically as possible, just like normal. As you can see, it's just a tiny bit unstable. Not much I can do about that without SAS to help with the fine-tuning of the fins of this ship. But boy, oh boy, is that ever going to be my next tech purchase. Stabilization systems for the win and for the sanity, especially the sanity. Okay. So once we're to 10,000, then we do our gravity turn. But of course, now this gravity turn has to be different, modified from our normal approach. Namely, I wonder if that's actually going to help. That spinning metal thing. I just turned it on, I think. Okay. So that's part one. But we can't gravity turn to 45 degrees. Because we need to get the lower booster stage to just barely touch space. And now the reason for that is it gives me enough time to do my orbital burn, at least in theory, before the payload or this booster section crashes with no parachutes on. So given that lovely little detail, this is working just a little better with So the reaction wheels aren't great, but they do make a difference. Make a mental note. They're not that they're not that expensive, and they're also not that heavy. And so the words better than nothing come to mind. So yeah, we want to get this apoapsis as close to or just touching space before we break this off. And we do not want to go too high. There we are. So even though there is some fuel left, we don't want to use it all up, because we don't want the thing going so high that it is that it burns. It's a very fine line between burning and not burning during the reentry process, and that's going to apply doubly to this upper stage here. The reentry process for that is going to be extremely time-consuming. I should also mention a thank you to everyone who suggested that I use these lighter, lower power engines. They've made a huge difference in the orbital burn stage of this thing, which I'm very pleased by. So, as you can see, the ship is still rising in the distance behind us, which will give us lots of time to do our orbital burn, because it's only going to take a few more minutes at most. Yeah. So we're going to try and put most of these payloads into low Kerbal orbit around 70 kilometers. Most of my science and interstellar operations will occur around 100 kilometers, future refueling stations and such things. So I want to keep these in a nice clean line around the equator so that there's low risk of me actually hitting them in distant future missions. Okay, here comes the apoapsis. We'll get our full efficiency burn right on prograde. And we're basically going to kill this thing as soon as it hits 70 kilometers of periapsis. We are exactly where we need to be right now. Beautiful. Lots of time left. It's still in the sky, but falling slightly. And we are about to achieve orbit. These flights are definitely a challenge. Okay, here we go. We're about to enter orbit. 3, 4, 5, 6. There we are. Okay. That thing's in orbit. It'll take care of itself. It's got more than enough juice. Switch 2. Now this is the part where things get a little ugly. And I've been thinking about increasing the elevation of the full deployment, but no, it really needs to slow down. So first we need this thing to spin back to vertical, which it's going to start doing naturally, but we need to encourage that to happen as we enter the atmosphere by actually applying a turn. We're doing a quick save right there because that will give me the ability to deal with the upcoming Kraken in a logical and sensible manner. But I'm hoping that with the SAS actually functioning on this thing, namely the big spinning ball of metal, we might just be able to keep it from going completely insane on me. Okay. So far so good. We're coming into the heating phase. We do not want the parachutes to be down. We want the parachutes up because the engines can handle the heat. The engines run hot, the parachutes do not. We are slowing down now. We have just passed the threshold of burning. And we are now coming down into the lower atmosphere and rapidly approaching the speed where we can safely deploy the... just going to kill off some extra mass there. There we go. Stop it. See, there it goes. It's just starting to do its thing. Here we go. Stop, stop, stop. Okay, so the SAS is not helping. All I can do is just keep this thing from going completely insane by counteracting the spin every time it happens. See, it's if I don't do anything, it just starts spinning out of control, and it will actually spin itself to 1 billion pieces if I'm whoa 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 whoa. Yeah, like that. You see that, right? Oh my god, that is so freaking scary. Okay, we've got we're in full deployment mode now. But yeah, you saw that with the ship spinning completely out of control. Come on, stop it for gosh sakes. So if anybody has advice for stopping ships from doing that, I'm all ears. I'm sure part of it is the fins here. They probably are just unnecessarily complicating the model, the drag model, which is just a little flawed from what I've been told on numerous occasions. So this thing costs $35,000 to launch, and if this goes according to plan, we will have recovered about half of the launch cost or more. Obviously we had to pay for fuel, but we do have, we're going to make a note of this, so of the launch cost, which is about $35,000, which I'll get the exact number a little later, we've just recovered $19,731 from that stage. So that's a good chunk of it now. Still not in profit territory though, which is the big problem right now. Let me just see how much that ship costs. We got time. That ship in orbit is in fine shape. So the Mark III costs $35,311. We'll do the rest of the math when we get back. All right. Time to go fly our other ship. Now that we are in orbit, nice and clean. Here comes part 2 of this mission. All right. Let's see. RCS. SAS will do nothing for obvious reasons. Okay. So let's see, 8074, you know what, I'll deal with that. Although, you know what, I could just retro a little. See, where are we on the orbit? I'm halfway to our apoapsis. I want a maneuver that will slightly drop my apoapsis. I want a lower apoapsis, not a higher one. So 77, 66, 69, 76, 88, no. 75, 79, 74, where's the 78, 77, 74, nope, wrong way. Come on. All right, let's see. Radial 10. It's all about the radial right now. 77, 74. We are almost there. 75, 77, 75, 77. 76, 77. That's the one right there. So we just need a small burn. I don't know if it's going to be... You know what? How much batter do I have? To charge tons. That is probably not the most efficient way to do this. In fact, the most efficient way to do this would be to do a burn at my periapsis. Right on it if necessary, and do a tiny bit of retro burning Yeah, see, look how much less fuel that uses. 74, 74. That's where we want this thing. It's just going to be a little bit longer before we get there is all. So it's such a small burn, it's almost not registering, I don't think. So we'll have to be very, very careful. We could almost do it with the RCS, couldn't we? Okay. Quick saving insurance against crashing games. Okay, as long as the ship has still got juice in its battery tank, we have no issues whatsoever. Okay, it's going to be like a 2-minute burn, or sorry, a 2-second burn at most. And it would be best occurred right when it crosses the retrograde marker, is my suspicion about when we need to do things here. So we are almost there. Periapsis in 1 minute. It's more, I mean, it's more or less just a retro burn. We just need to be controlled about how long we do it for. Okay. Okay. 5. Perfect. 74.2, 74.6. That is beautiful. All right. Now we need to flip over because our we want to deploy this thing in front of us because our retro burn will then push us away from it rather than towards it. So we're going to push this thing up prograde and back away from it, retrograde. And then will come the more time-consuming part of this task. Okay, so what we need to do is tell it, you are delivered, sir. When all conditions are met, say that it's been delivered. Decouple the node and back away. Our first satellite is in orbit. It has a docking port and is a little box of nothing with a nice clean apoapsis and periapsis. And we are actually, what we're doing right now with RCS is pushing our periapsis down very slightly into the atmosphere. We've pushed it down to 68.68 even. And then when we come around to the periapsis, we will drop our apoapsis by the same amount. The idea here is what we're going to do is we're going to do the cleanest basically we're doing the cleanest possible reentry burn there is. As we come into the atmosphere, okay, we need a slight retro to bring our apoapsis down a bit. So the idea is we're going to aero brake as slow as is humanly possible so that when we hit, right, we need to do this right at the periapsis, and we need to see how much the periapsis is actually going to lose as we enter the atmosphere. So we want this braking process to be, well, as slow as possible because it's theoretically possible to actually go slow enough to not get re-entry speed. But only if your entry angle is shallow enough. So what we are going to do, now we might lose some parts because this thing is not shielded like these batteries and these RCS control modules. Okay, so we're going to do, we are still 4 minutes out from our periapsis, which is dropping just a little. The hard part is this is going to take just about as long as is humanly possible, and I cannot fast forward it safely because of the nature of the game, of atmospheric effects and stuff. Okay, so it looks to me like our apoapsis is dropping slowly. I don't know if it's dropping to the point where we will actually re-enter right now. No, that's okay. We'll keep ourselves pointed retrograde, and we will use only RCS to get us just below. Oh, we're still 3 minutes out from the periapsis, which is interesting. Okay, we're just going to time warp a little tiny bit. Oh, right, we are on that physics time warp, not on the more preferred standard time warp because we're in the atmosphere. Okay, our periapsis is continuing to run away ahead of us, which means I think we are beginning to re-enter officially. But it's just about as clean as it can get. But our apoapsis is still orbital, so that's interesting. It depends on how quickly it loses its speed and actually re-enters the atmosphere. So we're going to give it another boost at 4x and see if we're actually re-entering the atmosphere or if we are... Whoa, 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 whoa. It's still 1 minute and 40 seconds away from the periapsis. But we are almost there now. So just a tiny little puff of the engines will put us, of the RCS, will put us into a full re-entry. It may not even be necessary though, because it looks like we are going to be okay. So what I might do is I might time warp a bit of this, or not time warp, but time lapse until we get to the point of doom. In which case I will go quiet and things will start going faster right about now. All right, so we've almost hit the point where, yeah, we're just coming down into the point where we will actually have a ground impact soon, or a predicted ground impact. We are losing speed very slowly. Our apoapsis is only currently 4 kilometers above where we are located. It's slowly been getting further away from us. But in all honesty, this is going just fine. Okay, our deceleration is now accelerating, as is our, both in terms of our periapsis, which is about to get to an impact point. You can actually see where that is. All right, we're going to land most likely in the ocean somewhere. At the rate we are slowing down now. Probably in the Great Ocean here somewhere, although it's really hard to tell with this slow burn, because right now we're technically impacting on the far side of the planet, but that is not going to last. Alright, so how hot are we getting? We are heating up. We're at 250, which is not bad. I honestly think we are going to lose a few parts unavoidably. I just don't know what else we can do about it other than designing the next ship with a shield for the batteries, which are actually rather I mean, the parts aren't that expensive is the thing. So as long as the critical components of the ship, namely the engines and the probe core, the RCS, and the docking port survive, we actually might be okay. 400. Yeah, see, these batteries and these RCS thrusters are starting to get to the point where they are not going to like the temperature they are reaching. But we continue to slow down. Now, the one thing we could do right about now is actually fire our engines up to full and decelerate ourselves a whole bunch. That could save us a whole bunch of burning. Okay, and one more burst. One more burst. Because we have fuel left, so we might as well use it. Okay, things are actually cooling down now. Are things actually cooling down? Oh. We cooled down. Basically, we're... Oh, no, we're still heating up quite a bit. Slow down. Come on. We're just coming into the critical part of the reentry here. Well, that's all we got, other than firing these. But I think we're going to lose some parts here unavoidably. In spite of our... Maybe? It's hard to tell. Hard to tell. Have we peaked yet? 1300. We're just burning all of our RCS right now. Because why not? It's helping slow. If it's helping slow us down, we'll take it. I think we did it. We did it. Yes! During a few of my tests, these outer parts ripped off, but obviously using the last of the juice in the engines and the RCS made all the difference in the world. Yep, we're now in a cooling cycle as we decelerate down to reasonable speeds and prepare to deploy our parachutes, which will happen somewhere between 10,000 and 5,000 meters. We are indeed going for a water landing, which is excellent news. Water landings are much, much nicer to accomplish. Okay, we should be safe to deploy. Yeah, we're good. That'll give us a little extra deceleration up until the last 500 meters. See, I wonder if that spin we were having has something to do with the weight or with the circular... No, you know what? It's got to be the interaction between the parachutes and the fins. I'd almost want to be able to eject those. But I guess as long as I can keep the full thing under control during reentry, that's no big deal. So, this is the good news. We've succeeded. I'm quite pleased with this. We have actually succeeded. Let's clear the contract. 15,000, and get rid of that. Now we just have to wait for us to get to the ground, which we will actually use a little time warp to do. We'll kill it just before we hit the ground, but at this stage it's actually safe to warp time a little, assuming your ship isn't spinning precipitously in circles to the point where it will rip itself to shreds. Of course. You know, minor details like that are just, you know, small issues, really. Okay. Recovered vessel. And here is the critical question. How much did it actually cost us to fly this thing into orbit? Because that's really what will determine how viable this was. $2,754. So we started with 35,300 and now we have 37,900. So we've made 3,000, which is not a great return on investment for the amount of effort that took. Because I think I can get almost the same return on investment from flying those weather missions, if not a little bit more. Now let's have a look. So that's basically another small payload like the one we just did. And there's a second small payload. Oh. Small payload, small payload. This pays a little more though. That's interesting. Let's see. And then we've got a... Do we not have any medium payloads yet? Apparently not. These accomplishment missions are much more valuable. Kerbal into orbit's back on my list. Gear bay. Oh, an escape. We're not going to do that anytime soon. Yeah, so here's the part I failed. Yeah, upon accepting this contract, the first Kerbal you launch will be considered to be attempting it while the mission is broadcast to all of Kerbal kind. So, the good news is, and here's the really good news, the ship that we just flew can do this mission. And we'd come back with profit of 35,000 if we did nothing other than flying that ship into orbit. Because we could ditch the... I'm not going to grab that quite yet. I'm thinking about doing one more placeholder mission in the meantime. So, but let's just have a look at the ship in the VAB before we call it a day. I just want to see what it'll take to actually adapt that to be a... Because ideally I would like to actually recover this thing. So we won't need the 2 decouplers or the probe core. We will need the command pod Mark 1, which weighs 2.3. So it weighs half a ton more than the small commercial payload. But in the process we will get to remove all this excess weight, which includes 0.25, and the weight of these 0.5. Okay, so pretty trivial, but so it weighs 0.5 more than the commercial payload. If we, okay, so the one thing, we will take out the spinning thing, because that's actually extra mass that we don't need, because it didn't do anything really useful. Certainly didn't solve the problem that I really wanted to solve with it. So if we fly this same mission profile with a Kerbal, we should be able to come away with most, if not all, of that 79,000. And that would be a pretty nice thing. Anyhow, I think that's all for tonight. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you all very much for watching. And hopefully in the next episode we'll do something really exciting. Bye for now.